my healing can be expedited by other people's accountability. There is an imbalance that occurs in the world, like the fabric of, fairness gets torn in a way when someone does something to me that is unacceptable to my body, to my property, to people I love. And I myself can ultimately not have the negative consequences of that in my body, in my spirit. I can ultimately become what was torn can be mended myself. I can do that myself. You see people doing it all the time. But there are causes and conditions that give rise to speedier healing. And particularly when I think about it in the context of sexual harm, one of the things that I carried as a survivor, and many survivors I know carried, is like, why did this happen to me? Why did he pick me, or why did she pick me to harm? Why did they pick me to harm? And carry a lot of like guilt and feelings of like, self-blame around the harm. And then sometimes the families compound that, being like, you shouldn't have worn that night. You shouldn't have been out. And, you draw this stuff to yourself. We hear so many survivors telling those kinds of stories. Or this happened to you because you're gay or whatever, right? Like terrible things get said to survivors, sometimes by the people who are supposed to be supporting us, right? And so I can't think of something that is more effective in expediting that healing journey collectively when the person who's caused the harm says it in front of your family and community and their own family and community. Mm-hmm. This is my shame, not yours. Like, this is entirely on me. Yes, what you say happened. And sometimes even when we're survivors of any kind of harm, we think, I've been burglarized many times. And one time I was sitting in a burglary case I was facilitating, and the survivor in that case said to the kid who burglarized her home, well, why'd you pick my house? And he said, 'cause it was there. And it healed something in me. I was like, oh, it's not because I painted my house purple and it draws attention to my house. It was like, I literally was trying to find a way to blame myself for my burglaries, right? And when the kid said, 'cause it was there, 'cause that's the way I walked home that day, it frees me of the story that I could have controlled this or had anything to do with it, right? And that's even more so in sexual violence cases. Every time I get to hear somebody take responsibility, I'm facilitating a case right now where I'm getting the person ready to meet with the people that they harmed, and hearing that person take full responsibility for their acts is like, I feel something healing in me on like a cellular level. Every time I get to hear somebody wake up to, oh, wait, that was consent and that was what was required and there wasn't consent, and oh my gosh, and I was responsible for that. It keeps chipping away at whatever is residual there with me around my own survivor journey. So for me, it's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win when we get everybody doing this off the grid or before charges in particular, ideally before arrest. But if we can find a way for folks to sit down face-to-face with the people that they harmed, with their families and communities, in a way that there's a plan to repair the harm that is completed, right? Instead of the criminal legal system, like, we can do that. And we've done that in tons and tons of cases. And that is my dream world. That is the way to do it in my mind.
Yeah, we often find ourselves not being able to solve these problems that are happening all the time because of lack of imagination, right? And, you and I have been awake to restorative ways of being for a long time. And, many people who are listening to us right now have also been awake to these ideas, right? These ideas aren't new. They're very old, but because of the society that we live in, our imagination about like how to get justice, how to right wrongs, how to deal with conflict and harm, is punitive generally, right? I think about bringing these ideas of healing and restoration up to people who have been harmed. And, you've, over the course of your work, have dealt with many people who, the state or our criminal legal system would label victims, right? Maybe survivors is words that we might be more comfortable with. What have been conversations where there was initial resistance to like doing a restorative thing, like no, that person needs to rot in jail and die. And what were some of the ways that you invited them into a process that was ultimately more healing?
Yeah. Again, Howard's questions. How are you harmed and what do you need? Even if in the beginning people are like, I need that person to go to prison. When you keep asking, in the same way you asked me in the beginning, the seven times, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? What do you need? What do you need? What else do you need? What do you really need? What do you need? And you get to the need under the need under the need. Prison is never the answer. Like actually needing somebody else to go to prison, ultimately survivors are not interested in that. Their needs are about themselves. I need to feel safe. I need to know this isn't going to happen again. Prison doesn't produce any of those outcomes. Prison doesn't make us safe. Prison doesn't make it not happen again.